Everybody. It's so good to be back on here after not being here for so long. Literal weeks since I've been live. It's out of character for me, and it's something that I have actually very deeply missed because I really do enjoy coming on here with you guys and saying hi and allowing myself to be full channel for truth, which is why I'm here today. This is a live that I have been debating over and over and over whether or not to do it, but you guys have heard me say it before. To quote Dana Christian Lee, if it's something that makes you feel excited and like you couldn't live without it, and also like you're going to throw up at the exact same time, it's something that you need to do. And so here I am. I'm about to get real and vulnerable with you guys right now. For those of you who don't know me, this is going to be a very odd first video to be seeing of me, but hello, my name is Rachel Leah Gerson. I'm the owner and operator here at Doorway to Self LLC, where I pair together psychic tools with counseling techniques to help people understand their mental health. Um, so many of you have noticed that I've been missing the last couple of weeks. If you're on my email list, you already got this news. If you're not on my email list and want to be, you can do that through doorwaytoself.com. If you head over there, a thing will pop up and it'll be like, subscribe to get monthly emails. And then you can put in your email address and everything's dandy. I am currently, as I am speaking to you, recovering from COVID. This is reality. This is a real thing. Um, but I am going to say something that's going to be very, very strange to many of your ears. Firstly, I want to let you know that I'm fine. I'm doing all right. I'm recovering. I just took a big ol' nap. And mainly at this point, just feeling pretty tired. I still have a bit of a cough, so you might be hearing me coughing through this. And a slight struggle breathing. So also you're going to be hearing me at points in time needing to take more breaths than normal. And I appreciate your grace on that. So what I was about to say that I said is going to sound really strange to your ears is that I would not have had this experience any other way. Yeah, you heard that right. I have COVID. I am recovering from COVID, and I would not take it back for anything. And there are several reasons for this. Hey, Tasha, thanks for being here. There are several reasons for this. And I think it's easiest if I just go ahead and if I just go ahead and share the whole story with you guys. And this is something that I have been going back and forth with myself on because it is a lot more self-disclosure than I normally do. But something inside of me is saying that people need to hear this story. And so I am about to get yeah, just very personal with you guys. So, cheers to that. Here we go. Here we grow, as my dear friend Amber says. Here we grow. Um it was the 4th of November, and I was in the Arboretum. For those of you who don't know, I did move to Ann Arbor about a month ago. So this is my big grand welcome to Ann Arbor, is have the COVID. But yeah, all right. So November 4th, I was strolling through Nichols Arboretum. I have been working on a side project, and a lot of it has to do with working with the land and doing a lot of writing. And so I brought my laptop with me to the ARB, and I was doing some writing there. And the writing is about my past, and just kind of like getting a lot of my story down, not necessarily to share, so please don't get excited about that, but it's just something that I've been guided to do and something that I'm working on. And a lot of a lot of my story with my twin flame, many of you know that I'm on the twin flame journey. A lot of my story with my twin flame took place in the ARB, and so I have been going back to the ARB with my laptop, and I had been, I mean, the weather was still so nice, and so I had been going there and pulling my laptop out on a blanket and writing in the middle of the ARB. And it was taking a lot for me to be back in this space, be back in this city that holds a lot of trauma for me, psychic trauma, emotional trauma, trauma with mental health stuff. And it was a very rigorous regimen that I was laying out for myself, um having to literally, as I was sitting in the place where it all happened, take my laptop out and energetically go back into that space to be able to write about it, and then have to do the work to clear all of that energy and come back to the present and really anchor myself back in my present self, in my present body, my present surroundings. I have tons of tips and tools for that. I actually did a podcast episode about it that same week because I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing that I've been able to develop this toolbox to be able to really work through trauma and the ability to be able to float back and forth through time to the traumatic events and then back out of them into the present. So if you want to check that out, I believe the episode is called My Personal Toolbox 5 Tips for Healing or for post-traumatic growth or something like that. So you can check that out. It's on iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Play, the list goes on. So the Doorway to Self podcast, you can check that out. But regardless, so I was in the ARB and I was writing, and after I finished up my writing segment, I found myself really missing a friend of mine who was involved in the whole thing, and he and I have stayed really good friends for the last 8 years since all of this went down. And I found myself really missing him, and so I gave him a call, and he answered, and I was so happy to hear his voice, and it was kind of surreal after writing to like be listening to his voice and talking to him while I was in the ARB. And so, oh my gosh, you guys, my heart is beating so fast as I'm about to tell you all of this because, okay, just continuing to breathe through this. Okay. All right. So we're on the phone, and he was asking me how it was living back in Ann Arbor, and just basically how I've been able to be here in the present and how I've been coping, and all of this stuff. Well, I wound up disclosing to him. All right, so let's take a backup on this. Let's take a backup on this. I'm gonna take you guys back in time to March of this year. And as many of you know, back in March, I was when I disclosed my twin flame, not the entire twin flame journey, but the fact that I'm on the twin flame journey and a lot of my struggles around that and stuff like that for the first time ever since I opened my business. This is not something that I was disclosing publicly at all. I had gotten a very, very big no to that until the pandemic hit. And then something happened when the pandemic hit where everything just opened up and the universe was like, all right, it's go time, it's show time. You've got to tell people about this. You've got to tell people you're on the twin flame journey. You've got to disclose it. You've got to continue to bring healing to this aspect of people's lives and be helping with that. And as I began to disclose, all of a sudden I started getting all of these downloads from my twin. And I mean incredible downloads where, for literal years and years and years, all I kept saying was things ended so traumatically with our relationship. And when we went into separation, all I had been saying for years and years and years was, I just want to know his side of the story. I just want to know his perspective. Um, I want to understand this, and I kept, saying to the universe, like, please hook us up, like, please get us together in the physical, not necessarily for a reunion, but because we need to talk. Like, I need to hear his side of the story. And here is the magic of manifestation, the magic of the universe, my friends. I was not ready for his side of the story. I was not ready for his side of the story at all. And also, I believe it would have been incredibly harmful for it to come directly from him in the physical. And what wound up happening is, of course, I let the notion go, because this is how manifestation happens. You go to manifest something and you have to let it go. You have to let go of how the outcome is going to look. You have to let go of literally everything. And so I let go of it. I was like, okay, you know what? Fine. And this is, again, after years and years and years of me saying, oh, we just have to have a conversation, trying to control it, trying to make it happen, all this other stuff. And I finally let it go about, I don't know, probably a year and a half ago or so. So come March, literally started getting all of these downloads where I was seeing his side of the story. I was literally like on my couch in quarantine doing absolutely nothing. It just so happened that I had no sessions booked for those 2 weeks that I was in quarantine for some reason. Like, I mean, like, everybody was just freaking out and not wanting to do anything. So it was just crazy. I had all of this time, and all of these downloads were coming through, and I was literally seeing everything through his eyes. I was watching me, I was hearing his thoughts, I was feeling his feelings, I was feeling the entire experience of the very long 3 months that we spent together 8 years ago. And then we had gone through a separation, came back together a year and a half later, and then I saw everything through his lens at that point as well, before we separated again, and that was very, very traumatic. So, um, anyways, so all of that stuff happened. And after I started getting these downloads of everything with him and everything from his side of the story, and being so supremely grateful that I was finally getting these answers after 8 years of waiting for them, I started to. Sorry, guys, the tired hits and the COVID brain hits, so you gotta give me a minute here. Gotta give me a minute. Just recollect here. I started to get downloads from him of places to go with Doorway to Self. And if I'm being completely honest, this is a business that, did I build this from the ground up? Abso-freaking-lutely. Did I create this business? Yes. Am I the practitioner in sessions? Yes. However, I always have believed that this is our business. This is something that he helped me to create, because there's no way that I would have created it if it wasn't for the experiences that we held together. And again, listen to the podcast. There's an entire episode about Your Purpose is Already in You, where I tell the story about how literally he helped me to create the name for this business that came from us, from our story. Hey Jenny, thanks for being here. Oh, thanks Tasha, I appreciate that. She says, hi Rachel, I'm glad you're feeling better. And yeah, and Tasha, it sounds like you also were giving guidance to begin talking about your twin journey at the beginning of the pandemic too. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people who have been having that experience. So anyways, all right. So back in March, all of this happened, and then right after that, I started getting all of these downloads from him and with him, where he was coming to me in dreams, where he was coming to me in waking life and telling me, like, oh my gosh, I have this idea, I have this idea, I have this idea, like, do this, I'll help you with this, I'll help you with that. And and literally we were working together. We were 150% working together. He helped me in the astral to create the door openers and like helped me to download a lot of that information. He helped me to download the a lot of the light language and the sounds for the vocal sound healing for the Awakening Soul MP3 that I have up on my website, that's available for purchase. He helped me to download the um the sound healings that I was going to go live with, all of this stuff. And all of a sudden, very rapidly, I started getting all of these images of us together. And we like working, like doing ritual work and ceremonial work together, um in like all of these different capacities. And I was like, this is so bizarre. Like, this isn't anything that's ever happened before. Like, this is definitely not past life stuff. This is definitely not from this lifetime from the past, because I would have remembered it. Where is this coming from? It wasn't. And it was all stuff happening in on the East Coast, which I'm like, this is really bizarre. So I asked the universe, I was like, okay, this is weird. Like, he definitely looks like him, I definitely look like me. um but I can't tell what the time period is on this. Like, please help me out here, because I'm not understanding this. Is this from a future, like the future in this lifetime? Is this from a future lifetime that's not this one? Like, I don't know, and I don't understand. And for those of you who are on the twin flame journey, I really, something I understood to tell you before I got on this live is that you cannot be concerned with reunion. It's not the point. It's not the point of the twin flame journey at all whatsoever. The point of the twin flame journey is to learn, and this is so vital to this story, oh my goodness. Learn unconditional love. Learn unconditional love for yourself, and learn unconditional love for all other people. Learn unconditional love for yourself, for your twin, and for every other freaking human, tree, plant, animal, whatever that exists in the freaking universe. And to be able to integrate those love codes here onto this freaking planet. That is what the twin flame journey is for. It's not about being romantic. It's not about being together. It's not about pining after your twin in this, unrequited love scenario. Like, no, that is literally helping no one. Stop it. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to be without your twin, and especially when you have it in your head that, like, this is the way that it's supposed to be. But you have to drill it into your head, my friends, that you literally may never be in a physical relationship, whether that's romantic or otherwise, with your twin in this lifetime. It may literally never happen. Get it in your heads. It may never happen. It's not to say it's not going to. It could. I highly doubt that that's going to be the case for my twin and I. I really don't know if they're going to get to a place where they're going to be able to do the work in a way that I would actually ever even consider union at this point, because clearly they're still very involved in a lot of drama. And that's just not something that I am willing to accept into my life at this point. But or really at any point anymore. But it's not about the union. It's not about being in union. And I see twin flame communities all over the place talking about how to get into union and like how to make this work, and like everything is about union. It's not about union, you guys. It's not about union. It's about your own journey. It's about your own path. It's about being unconditional love with yourself, with others, with everyone. That's what this journey is about. So when I was asking the universe for clarification on this, it was literally because I was just completely overwhelmed. I was completely overwhelmed. I was like, why are you showing me all of these images? What lifetime is this from? Do I need to prepare myself for something? What is going on? Where is this from? Like, just give me an image. I finally boiled it down to, please give me an image of what my twin looks like in his current state, in this current point in time, so that I know what the hell I'm looking at. Like, so that I know what I'm working with. Is this the future? Is this a future lifetime? Like, what, like, or is this something that's gonna happen next week? Like, please just, like, you're giving me warnings here through these images, through these dreams, through these downloads, through these meditations. Like, please just help me out and understand a little bit more about what this timeline, like, where we are in the timeline. And so I asked for an image, and I quieted down and I went to meditate. And instead of getting an image of my twin's face, like what I was expecting, I got so much more. I got an image of a name, a very random name, like very random name. And I got an image of the logo for Instagram. And then I heard the words, Google it. I was like, what the hell? Now, please mind you, when my twin and I separated 7 years ago for good, when he completely shut me out of his life, he blocked me on all social media platforms. He blocked me on everything. So when I say we have been in complete and utter separation for the last 4 years, I literally mean I have not had any contact with him. I've not seen his social media pages. I've not heard his voice. I've not been texting with him or like anything like that. Hey Rainforest Faye, hey Susan, thanks for being here, guys. So when I came out of my meditation, I went ahead, grabbed my phone, Googled the name that was given to me in the meditation, and the very first thing that came up on Google was an Instagram handle. I was like, okay, this is bizarre, and I clicked on it, and it was a secret account that he had made. And I was like, holy cow, this is crazy. So at first, I really wrestled with myself on the ethics of it. I was like, okay, well, he has blocked me on all other platforms, and would he want me looking at this account? Like, is this okay? Is this something that is all right? And as I sat with it and meditated with it, I came to the understanding that if it was not okay, I would not have been given that direct information. And specifically from him. Like, he was the one who came to me in the meditation and said, like, like, gave me the information. And that was how I found out that what I was getting downloads about, like all of these rituals and ceremonies, were definitely not anytime soon. Because his energy in the videos and images of himself on his Instagram page are, his energy is just completely not where it needs to be for us to be in physical contact at all. He just still has a lot of growth to do, and that's okay. I give him a lot of grace for that, obviously, and every single day I pray that he is able to access more of his work. And that's been a really humbling and beautiful experience too. All right, so now we have that background information out of the way. That was one of the scarier pieces to tell of this story. So, thank you. Thank you for listening. As we fast forward, so I'm going to take us back to, again, November 4th. We're in the ARB. I'm on the phone with my friend, and I was telling him about something about my twin's Instagram account. And it was like this very serendipitous thing that was going on, because there were, I mean, like, from the moment I found his account, it was like serendipity after serendipity. Like, I would think of something or dream of something or something, and literally go on like 20 minutes later or 3 hours later or the next day, and he would have posted about it. Like there's no denying. Like it's just like, what? This is so crazy and so wild and so beautiful. And so at that moment I knew, I was like, okay, we're doing this work together. Like we're doing this work together. This is amazing. And so I was telling my friend about this stuff, and he didn't seem to have any reaction to it. He was just like, oh wow, like that's crazy, I can't believe that that's going on with you, blah blah blah, this that whatever. And then he decided to tell me he decided to tell me about an instance where we are legitimately working together and not knowing about it. My friend is through COVID times has reconnected with his girlfriend from college, from when everything was going on, like, well, right before everything was going on with my twin. And they reconnected through like right before COVID, and then actually in the midst of COVID wound up getting back together. And so here they are 10 years after they dated. They're back together, long distance. He's in Europe, she's in Michigan, and he is getting ready to move back here to be with her. And it's just a really wild story, you guys. And on this phone conversation, my friend decided to tell me that while I was on my end of things pushing for him to be with her, or not pushing, but like basically giving him the courage to be like, okay, this can work, I can do this, we can do this. My twin was on the other side, because the two of them are really really good friends, perhaps even best friends. My twin was on the other side doing the exact same thing with her. And so here we are working together, getting two people that we love, two soul family members together in a relationship, and like he and I are responsible for that, like for bringing them together. Um and so it's just this really beautiful story. Well, the problem is that she does not care for me in the least. She does not like me. She does not care for me. Because she believes that I have not changed. She believes that I am the exact same person I was 8 years ago. And I was not a good person 8 years ago. And I really screwed a lot of people over 8 years ago, especially through this whole first iteration of our twinship. And so he started telling me about that. And the energy that was arising was really strong, and it was really discouraging, and it was incredibly triggering, because if I'm going to be completely open and vulnerable with you guys, I'm going to let you know that one of my biggest triggers is a fear that I haven't grown and I haven't changed. That is one of my biggest fears. One of my biggest triggers is a fear that I haven't grown at all, that I haven't changed at all, and that the people from my past, the people that I screwed over, the people that I hurt, are always going to see me the same way. And he literally brought up every single one of those triggers plus this past energy. And where in writing my story in the ARB, as I had been doing day in and day out, I was able to control that trigger. I was able to expose myself to the trigger and immerse myself in it, and really be with the trigger, and then like pull myself out. And it was very controlled and very deliberate, and became easier over time. This was not a controlled trigger, and it was not deliberate on my end. And I wound up spiraling a little bit. If I'm being completely honest, I wound up spiraling a little bit. But because of my toolbox, I was able to pull myself back out rather quickly. So this is something that if it had happened even a year ago, I don't think I would have been able to pull myself out as quickly as I did. It literally took me a day. And the way that I was going about it was like, oh, this is really annoying. Why am I dealing with this? Instead of it being like the end of the world, instead of it being, just like overtaking me and all this other stuff that otherwise would have happened in the past. And so it was really awesome. And I was really grateful for it. And by the morning of the 6th, so now we're 2 days later, by the morning of the 6th, I woke up and I did some really, really big self love practices, just like really immerse myself in self love practices. And I was feeling great. I like came on, I did my live about love wins, like everything was really jiving and jamming. And all of a sudden, come about, I don't know, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was feeling so much anxiety. It's not even funny. Like all of this anxiety was like overtaking me, and I was like, holy crap, what's going on? This is crazy, blah, blah, blah. This is just nuts. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. And I kept like trying to clear myself, and I would clear myself for a minute and then it would come right back. And then I was like, who is this from? And I wasn't getting any answers, and like it was just like this mess. And I was so confused by it. I was like, this has not happened to me in a really long time. Like, I don't understand what this is. I finally got to a place where I was able to calm myself down, get myself into another space. And all of a sudden, I got this hit. I got this hit. And it was like, you have to look at your twin's Instagram right now. Right now. Go look at it. And I was like, okay. And I went to pull out my phone and I heard, this is the last time you're going to see it. And I was like, what? Okay, all right, whatever. And I pulled up his page, and literally, as I was staring at the screen, watched everything disappear and the words, this account is no longer located, come across the screen. So I literally witnessed my twin block me on Instagram. And the thing about it is I know that my twin knew that my account existed. Like, I know that he knew my account existed. I know that he was looking at my account. For several reasons, I know that he was looking at my account. And I'm pretty sure he knew that I was looking at his. But as soon as he got the physical confirmation, which I knew came from my supposed friend, which he is my friend, we've made up, but we'll get there. My supposed friend telling his old girlfriend, about this, and her telling my twin. I was devastated. And I surprised myself by actually being more devastated by the betrayal than by my twin blocking my account. It was a very clear experience for me to be able to see by example how much I had changed. Because if that had happened even a couple months ago, if he would have blocked me, it would have been the end of the world. It would have been like, oh my gosh, we're in separation again. He doesn't trust me. He still thinks of me the way that he used to, blah, 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 blah. This time it was like, okay. Like, he wants to block me, that's fine. I understand this is coming from third-party stuff. That's okay. Like, if he needs to be in separation in the physical again, that's okay. I understand it. I was devastated about the betrayal. I was devastated that my friend, who has literally been with me through this whole journey and knows and knew how detrimental that would be for me, I was devastated that he would have given that information. And I also had a good laugh at the date as well, because like I said, it was November 6th that this happened, and 6 in numerology is the day of love, or excuse me, the number of love. 6 is the number of coming home. And so for that to happen, like for our next separation to happen on the 6th, was firstly ironic, but also made a ton of sense because it's also my twin's karmic number. So of course, as I'm coming towards, or not coming towards him even, just sitting here filled with unconditional love for myself, for others, for him, and like this unconditional love for him specifically is just like brewing over, that's when he would block me. And it was like, okay, great. So he was triggered. This is beautiful. Now he can face this. Now he can do the work. This is awesome. Hey, Angel. Hey, Kay. Thanks for being here. So, the next morning, I woke up. I went to Waterloo State Recreation Area, which, if you've never been there, is absolutely gorgeous. I actually saw a client in the park that day, which was amazing. And right after that session, I decided to dedicate the whole day to just being in the woods and being with my thoughts and being with my feelings and really, really feeling through everything. There was so much anger and so much grief and so much hurt and so much frustration and pain and etc., 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 you name it. And 7 numerologically is the day of researching the human condition. Literally, I spent the entire day researching my patterns, researching my twins' patterns, researching the patterns of all of the people in our soul family circle, and like how these patterns were repeating, because this is exactly what happened 8 years ago, was that we allowed other people to come in between us. We allowed other people to relay information back and forth between us. And that's just never a good idea. It's never a good idea. Like, direct communication is so key. Obviously, I can't do that in this situation because I'm respecting boundaries. You know, my twin has asked me very, very clearly. My twin asked me years ago very, very clearly, do not contact me. I don't want to hear from you. Fine. I can't talk to him directly in the physical. But I also was not expecting for my friend to relay information to his girlfriend who's his best friend. I mean, this is like, even just saying that, I'm like, that's so dramatic. Like, that's so old. Like, that's so old. Why are we repeating these old patterns? And towards the end of the day, I started to feel over it, and I was like, okay, I need a change of scenery. I need a change of pace here. And it just so happened that when I was in high school, I dated a person who, like, our relationship ended pretty poorly, mainly because I was just very naive and ignorant and not a very good person. Let's just drive that home. So our relationship ended pretty poorly, and through college we began to connect a little bit again. But actually through COVID, we've become really, really good friends. And it's been a really wonderful experience getting to know each other as adults, and like, you know, just really nice. Hey Morgan, thanks for being here. Hey Koo, awesome. Hey, thanks for being here. So good to see you. So we've reconnected, become really good friends through COVID, and he lives in the South. He's doing his medical residency, but he grew up originally here in Michigan, in Southeast Michigan, Metro Detroit, and it just so happened that that day that I was doing the research on myself in Waterloo, he was also actually visiting Michigan that night. And he was going to have like a very, very small get together, very small gathering at his house. And at his parents' house, and his parents were gone. So it was just like this really nice little, like, oh my gosh, I actually get a moment to hang out with people who are my age. Because for those of you who don't know, I have been incredibly strict about COVID. Like, incredibly strict. And that's what makes this story even more powerful, you guys. I have been incredibly strict about COVID. Like, literally the last 9 months, because my grandparents are in their 80s. They're well, one is incredibly immunocompromised, specifically in his lungs, my grandpa. And so I've just been really, really careful because I've been spending time with them. And so I haven't seen anybody. I literally have not seen, like, I've seen two friends throughout this entire time, throughout the entire last 9 months, for like an hour each outside with masks on, like just very, very conservative. And so this was literally my first time hanging out with A, people my age, and B, more than one person at a time, and C, inside in the last 9 months. So it was a big deal for me. I was like, I was a little scared. I was like, and I got to the house. So okay. So this is really, really beautiful. So I texted him and I was like, okay, like, are we still down to hang out tonight? He was like, absolutely, this is great. I was like, okay, what's your address? And before I had texted him, before I had made this decision of like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm ready to go to this tonight. I had, like I said, been working through all of this stuff with my twin, and I had reached this conclusion of like, if he's not ready for physical contact, then just, like, fine. Like, I'm literally done with this. I am letting the whole thing go. I am done. I just don't want anything to do with it right now. I just don't. It's too distracting. It's too, like, I just, no. And so I texted my ex, who's now my friend, and asked him for his address. And I kid you not, you guys, you cannot make this stuff up. I kid you not. It was my numerology life path birth path number and my twins' numerology life path birth path number together. Those four numbers. It could have been any four numbers. It could have been any sequence of any four numbers. No, it was my numbers and my twins' numbers simultaneously in a row, like me, him, together. And I was like, this is craziness. This is absolute craziness. And so you have to laugh at the cosmic jokes of the universe, but of course I took that as a sign of like, I absolutely 100% have to go to my friend's house. Like, this 100% has to happen. And so I drove over there and I got to the house and I got out of the car, and the first thing that happened, you guys always hear me say, trust your intuition. The first thing that happened was I was afraid to go into the house because of COVID. And I was like, like, I don't know how I feel about going inside. And like, the weather was pretty nice out that day. Like, it was actually a really beautiful day. And I halfway considered asking him and his other friend who's already there to come out of the house and like be outside together. And I convinced myself otherwise. I was like, no, Rachel, no, like, you're being paranoid. See, I even do this too. And it's important for me to illustrate that like, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect when it comes to my intuition still either. Like, I'm still learning too. And I still have these tests and challenges too. But in this case, I am really glad I actually ignored my intuition, and we'll get there in a second. And I do think, actually, there are times when our intuition will tip us off to something, but there's something greater for us to take away from it, and that's why we wind up ignoring it. So in this case, I actually am really grateful that I ignored it. And I went in the house, and I saw him for the first time in 10 years, which was crazy. I was like, what? This is nuts. And, yeah, it was crazy. It was great, and crazy to be in his childhood home too, because I'd literally never been there before. Even though we dated in high school, we had met at summer camp, and at the time I was living in Los Angeles, which is where I was born and raised, and so I was living there, he was living in Michigan. We dated long distance for 9 months, and I had literally never been to his childhood home. And so it was like really, really surreal and bizarre, and it was like, whoa, what's going on here? This is crazy. And we wound up having a really, really great time. It was just me and him and his best friend from high school, which was also really cool to meet him because I'd been hearing about him for 9 months when we were dating and had never met him, and like had heard about him throughout the years. And he also went to high school with like a bunch of my friends from college, which was like really surreal. I don't know. It was just really cool. Um, and so we had a great time. And then his other friend came, and like the four of us had a great time together. And it was just so awesome to be with other people. Oh my gosh, you guys, like, I think I really underestimated, and yeah, I'm going to be really frank with you. I think I really underestimated the power of being in person in community. Like I very much, hey Jeff, thanks for being here. Who's that? Kath or Cat? I don't know how to say your name, but it's really good. Thank you for being here. Um, so I just got super distracted and COVID brain set in. COVID brain set in. Right. So I really think I underestimated the power of being in person with people. It's really a powerful experience, and I'm coming off of years of basically seclusion. Like, other than seeing my clients and going to school and going to Sanford for my internship, like, I was not really hanging out with people. Like, when I was living in Grand Rapids, I, to be completely honest, didn't really have friends. And it's because I didn't really. I was at a point in my life where it was really important for me to just be in a cave and to just like be really um, intentional about focusing time on myself and being internal and being, whatever. Um, but yeah, so I just want to draw attention to that, and draw attention to the hardship that all of us are probably feeling at this point, especially after like 9 months is not a short amount of time to be without community. And yes, the internet is amazing. And yes, being online and having all of these options to do lives like this where we can sit in community, to do Zoom calls, to do Google Hangouts, whatever it is that we're doing online. Yes, those things are amazing. They're beautiful options. They've extended so much for us. But at the same time, we are likely still missing that human interaction component in the physical. And hey, Alexandria, thanks for being here. And so I just want to draw attention to that like that's hard, you guys. That's really hard. And either we're doing it, or we're risking our health, or excuse me, we're either doing it and risking our health, or we're not doing it and also risking our health. And that's really the catch 22 here is if we don't gather in community in person, we're risking our mental health. And if we do gather in community in person, we're risking our physical health. And that's such a tough spot to be in. And I just really see you guys in that, and I feel for you guys in that. But anyways, so we had a fantastic time, and it came to be the time for everybody to leave. Um, oh gosh, here's the part of the story where I get like super, super, super personal. All right. Here we go. Came time for everybody to leave. And I can't believe I'm about to say all of this on live. This is just a lot. Nothing hidden, nothing hidden, nothing hidden. Here's this Gemini full moon energy, you guys. Nothing hidden. The full moon's tomorrow night, and oh my goodness, so many people have been messaging me, telling me that they've really been feeling it and feeling the need to speak out and speak up, and I'm like, yep, that's exactly what's happening here. But oh my gosh, thanks, Alexandria. She says thanks. She says you got this. I'm here for it. LOL. Thank you. Really appreciate that support. I'm just about like, oh my gosh, this is literally everything I was taught not to do in my counseling course. Like, please do not self disclose to levels that are like just too personal. But like, something in me is like, here we grow. People need to hear this. So I'm going to tell the story. Tasha says, you got this, Rachel. Thank you, Tasha. I really appreciate you a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Thanks. Okay. So it came time for everybody to leave, and my friend looked at me and he said, "Hey, it's midnight. I know that you have like an hour and a half drive back to Ann Arbor from here. If you would rather crash here, you're welcome to. I've got an extra room." And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to have to think about that." And as I mentioned, we dated in high school. Um, and there was still like a little bit of attraction there, and we had been flirting through the night. And I was like, if I stay, is something gonna happen? If I stay, is something gonna happen? And more so than that, am I ready for that? Am I like, I mean, this whole time, like, we were masked. We were, like very, like, we were like 6 feet apart, if not more than that. And so it was like, am I ready to not only break my COVID boundaries, but also, um, like, open myself up in an intimate way? Um, and also, this was going to be the first person I had been with since my partner and I split in March, and right before the pandemic. And my partner and I had been together for 3 years before that, 7 years total. We had like a little bit of a break in the middle, but yeah, so it was about to be, if I made this decision, it was going to be a really big decision for me. Because I've come to a place of sovereignty, and a place specifically of sexual sovereignty, and I am incredibly selective about who, like, whenever that's going to happen again, who that's going to happen with. It's just it's and I want to talk about this message specifically to all of you, because this is something that I've been dodging. This is a subject I've been dodging because sex is taboo. And I have been afraid that if I came on alive and talked about sex, that people would sexualize me. Um, and that's just not energy that I want to accept in my sphere anymore. It's just not. Um, so, like, all right, here goes. Here are the floodgates, you guys. You're literally learning way too much about me right now, but it's all just being told to me. It's all just being told to me. So, here we go. I when I was in college, before I met my twin, and then after our first separation, and actually in high school as well, I was a sex addict. That's my story. I was a sex addict. And I specifically would sleep with people and take their energy. It was very intentional. I was very intentional about it. Who can I sleep with tonight? How can I steal their energy? Let's make this happen. That's who I was. And when I met my twin, who actually, my twin and I did not sleep together. We've never slept together. When I met my twin, he really challenged me on that. And like, since then, I became celibate, and then fell back into the addiction pattern after a while after our separation began our first separation began. And then I was celibate again for a little while, and then I met my partner of the last 7 years. So now here we are. um I I definitely have left those addictive tendencies behind, because the whole addiction for me was based in power, in control, in being able to be a succubus, and being able to be an energetic vampire and take people's energies. And that's just not something that, like, that's nowhere near where I'm at anymore. um Sex as I view it now is so much more about intimacy and about acknowledging yourself and the person you're being intimate with as divine beings, as sovereign beings, as divine beings who are interacting together to build energy. To build energy, and specifically to build loving energy, foundational energy that we can send out into the universe. Sex is magic, sex is powerful, and we have to be really, really careful about how we wield it and with whom we have those interactions. This is our sacred space. And I'm saying that I'm saying that for women with womb spaces. Your womb is your sacred space. When you are allowing another partner into that space, it's a sacred act. You are literally letting them inside of you. And for people with male body parts, it's also a sacred space for you. You're literally like entering yourself into someone. Like there's so much there. Like, you guys can probably feel the energy coming off of me right now, because it's wild. Like, it's wild how powerful this act is. And we have literally disintegrated it and degenerated it into, something that we can just like go online and chat someone up and be like, hey, want to screw? Like, ugh. Anyways, I digress. Hey, Kalo Cadet, thanks for being here. So I knew that this was a possibility. I knew that this was something that potentially could happen, and so I really had to sit with myself, and I really had to ask myself the question: are you ready for this? On so many levels. Are you ready for this emotionally, energetically? Is he the right person to allow into that space? Are you ready to acknowledge his divinity and his sovereignty? Are you ready? Are you willing to to break all of your COVID boundaries ever? Is that something you're willing to do? Are you willing to risk your health? And so he literally looked at me. I was like, I don't know, like, I don't know how I feel about this. And he looked at me and he said, do you need to go outside and ground? And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is great. Like, the fact that he knew that this was something that I might need to do was like already a gold star in the right direction. So I was like, okay, yes, that sounds great. So I went outside, I grounded on his front lawn. I like took my shoes off, got my feet in the dirt, and like just really sat with myself and sat with my heart and sat with my womb space and asked myself about this. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I still don't know that this is a good idea. I really, like, my gut is like, I don't know how the fallout from this would be. Like, I don't know, like, in the moment it might be great, but the aftermath might not be great. But something in me still in that moment kept saying, you need to go back in that house. The two of you need time alone together. I don't know what's going to happen, but the two of you need time alone together. Okay. All right. So I went back in the house and I said, all right, I don't think I'm going to spend the night. I'm really wired. I'm a night owl, for those of you who don't know. I'm a night owl, and it's going to be easy for me to drive an hour and a half at like 3 o'clock in the morning if need be. But I just know that I need to be here in this house. Like I know that it's important for the two of us to have time alone together. And I could tell under his mask he got a big smile, and he said, "I'm so happy that you decided to do that because I really wanted some time alone with you." And I was like, "Hell yes, let's do it." And I was like, "But can we be outside? Is that cool?" And he was like, "Yeah." So we went outside. We took our masks off. We were like, "Oh, this is so nice." And it turns out, and like this is something I knew before he and I dated. He dated somebody else, who's actually a friend of mine. And I am, hey Val, thanks for being here. And I am like pretty dang positive that it is a twin flame dynamic. I mean, these two have been going back and forth for like 15 years. And there are just a lot of very like key twin things that are happening. I mean, a lot of growth on his end, and like specifically like towards the spiritual. Like this is one of the most quote logical, in a scientific mathematical type of way, people that I know, and he is beginning to get interested in energy work and where all of us converge into oneness and like all of this other stuff. Quantum physics, quantum theory, like he's starting to get into it, and I honestly think that a lot of that is her doing. um and just like so much other stuff. Anyways, so he knew that I would understand if he needed to talk about her, and that was why he wanted to stay, was because he just really wanted to have this conversation. And it was so good to have that conversation with him at that time, because it just like it was yet another eye opener for me, that I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful that I'm going through all of this stuff with my twin. He blocked me on Instagram. We're working through group patterns. We're working through like, I'm working through all of these shadows of like fears that I haven't grown, that I haven't changed, like all of this other stuff. And he's telling me about his own twin dynamics, and I'm like, oh my god, like the fact that this would come up like right now in the midst of everything, and like everything with his address being our numbers, like my twins and my numbers, and like all of this other stuff, like it was just like so synchronous. And it was like, yeah, like this is why I'm here, like this is why I'm here. And at one point in the conversation he turned to me, and I cannot remember what he said. Like something like, "Oh my, like thank goodness you've changed so much through these years," or something like that. And as soon as he said it, I broke down crying. And he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like you have no idea how much I needed to hear that." I said, I don't really want to get into the whole story because I'm still like grappling with it and like delving into it. But like basically, my twin flame's best friend does not believe that I've changed. I don't think my twin believes that I've changed. And it's just been like, it's just been a really rough couple of days. And he looked at me and he said, "Rachel, if those people don't think you've changed, they are crazy." He said, "If somebody told me even 5 years ago that I would be describing you as a compassionate and caring and respectful human being, I would have laughed in their faces. I would have been like, no, that's not Rachel." Um, and that reflection was so timely and so needed and so necessary, and like especially coming from him when I was such a, I'm gonna swear, I was such a piece of shit to him in the past. Like for him specifically to have that reflection for me was so necessary and so deeply healing. So deeply healing. And then he said, if they are if they are going to be stuck in ruminations from 8 years ago, you don't want to be around them anyways. And I was like, yes. Yes, like this is exactly it. This is exactly why I renounced all of it earlier. I was like, I just don't even need this in my life. And the conversation went forward, and eventually it got to a point where I said to him, I was like, all right, I'm going to be honest with you. I was pretty afraid to come back in the house. Like when you invited me to stay the night, I was pretty afraid about it. And he was like, well, why? And I said, well, we got kind of flirty in there. We do have a past together. Like, I wasn't quite sure where this was gonna lead. And he was like, yeah, I kind of had similar thoughts. And I just don't know if it would be a good idea or not. And I said, yeah, I don't know if it would be a good idea or not either. And like, I don't know where I'm sitting with that. I don't know where this sits with me. And he said, well, we don't have to make any decisions right now. We can continue to hang out. We can continue to talk. We can continue to just like be. And I would love actually if while we take the time to think about it, we channel some of that energy into making some music together. How do you feel about that? And I lit up for so many reasons. One, I had been talking to another past partner of mine over the summer about that exact thing because we had been feeling a little bit of some sexual chemistry together. We both knew it was a bad idea, and I was like, look, but we make music together. And why don't we just channel that sexual energy into the music? And like, because it is creation energy, you guys, like all of it is creation energy. And like, we can use that. We can, and I think we have it in our heads that like as soon as sexual energy arises, we have to mitigate it. Like we have to like do something about it and like get busy. But like really like that sexual energy can be channeled into so much more. Like it can be channeled into art, can be channeled into music, into dance, into literally anything. Because it's creation energy, it's creative force. Um and this friend of mine, this past partner of mine was too afraid to do that. And so the fact that this friend of mine was suggesting it, I was like, ah. Also, I hadn't made music with anybody in a really long time, and also he and I used to be in choir together when we eventually both transferred to boarding school, after we dated, of course. We both transferred to boarding school for the arts. We went to Interlochen, and we both studied voice there, and so we sang in choir together and stuff. And we had not done that in literally a decade, or over a decade, and we were like, oh my gosh, like we're gonna sing together again. This is amazing. And so we went ahead and we did it. We sang together, and it was so beautiful and so fulfilling and so heartwarming and just like amazing. So we're sitting together, and to see the sheet music, we actually had to sit rather close together. And so we're sitting on the couch, like maybe, I don't know, a foot apart from one another. And we're singing, and I have come to an understanding that I think a lot of you are going to resonate with. I have come to an understanding. Oh shit. My Instagram video just quit out. So give me a moment here. Hey guys, I'm so sorry about that. My Instagram decided to quit out on me, so I think it's because I was on here for over an hour. I didn't even realize it, but here we are. This is story time with Rachel, guys. Basically, sit down and strap in because it's never short with me. This is something that I've come to learn, and that's okay. Okay. So, we're sitting on the couch together. Hopefully people are just going to join back in. Thanks to those of you on Facebook who have been sticking around for all this time. I really appreciate it. Um, so, hey Tasha, sorry about that. We quit out on Instagram by accident, so we're back. Um, and Belle's back too. Awesome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming back. Um, so we're sitting on this couch. And this is something that I think a lot of you guys are going to resonate with is through COVID times, I have come to understand, how do I put this into words? I have come to understand how much more the physical world capitulates the energy world. And what I mean by that is something about being physically near or with other people magnifies and multiplies the energy that we're experiencing. And it's something that I have never really noticed before because we've never had this much physical separation. But like, even I'm remembering back to April, you know, the only people I'd been with, as I said, were my family up until this point. And back in April, it had been a month and a half since I had hugged anybody, since I had had any physical touch exchange. And the first time that my parents came in to hug me, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, it just like, and I remember like I had been, or maybe it was May. I remember like all through April I had been able to fast. Like, I had been fasting for most of the day, almost every day, and I was like, oh my gosh, how come I don't need this this food energy anymore? This is crazy. Like, I'm literally able to, hey Alexandra, I'm so glad you could make it back. I'm so like, this is so crazy. Like, I've never been able to intake this little food before. Like, why is this happening? And I remember seeing my parents for the first time and like physically interacting with them, and I needed to eat all the time. All the time. Hey Gail, thanks for being here. It's so good to see you. And I realized that it's because of the intake of energy. I was literally burning so much energy being in the physical with other people and physically interacting with other people that I was just needing to continue to intake energy to like in the form of food to just like continue to keep myself going. It's just insane. Hey Jenny, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it. Um so I hope that I feel that that's resonating deeply with a lot of you. So like, you're not crazy. You're not crazy for thinking that you're not crazy for thinking that like being in the physical with other people is a big thing, because it is. And I think we're all coming to this understanding of that. And the story that I'm telling is going to illustrate that even more at exactly this point in time. So I'm just going to jump back into it. So here I am sitting a foot away from him. We're singing. And I start wigging out. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I've not been this close to another human being in like so long. And like, this is weird and crazy. And like, I don't know how to handle this. And eventually, like, I started tripping over the song, and I was like, I don't know how to handle this. I can't like sing and be this close to another human at the same time. Like, this is just really bizarre. And eventually he stopped the music and he stopped singing, and he said, "Are you okay?" Like, he looked at me. He's like, "Are you okay?" Now, mind you, he's a doctor. He's working with people, touching people all the time, right? Or he's not a doctor yet. He's in his residency, but like, so this was an experience that he wasn't privy to. And I was like, I'm honestly just wigging out. Like, I haven't been this close to another human being in 9 months other than my family. And like, it's just like a really weird experience. And I'm having trouble, um, I'm having trouble like being here with it. Like, I just don't know how to interact with it. And he said, oh my gosh, okay, here, hold on a sec. He closes his laptop that had the sheet music on and he puts it to the side. And he says, here, and holds his hand out and literally just leaves his hand out on the couch next to me. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, what is this going to be like? What is this going to be like to hold someone's hand who's not related to me for the first time in 9 months? Like, I just don't know how I'm going to interact with this. And all I could do was like hover. Like all I could, like I could just make my hand to literally this point. I was like, and I would like feel the energy from his hand, like take my hand away and like put my hand back and take it away. And I was getting all giggly and I felt like I was on major drugs, you guys. And we were completely sober. Like we hadn't been drinking or smoking or anything through the weekend or through the evening. Like I was completely sober. I felt like I was on so many drugs. Like it was beyond. It was crazy. And I eventually, finally, after about 4 or 5 minutes, that's how long this took, I eventually was able to finally put my hand in his and clasp hands. And we sat there like that in silence, just holding hands for 5 minutes. And it was so beautiful. Like just the simplicity of it. And I think we just like that's something that COVID has just given me so much appreciation for, is like this ability to just physically be present with people and to just really enjoy, like, we take things for granted. And I think especially in spiritual communities, like what's the first thing that we would have done in the past was like approach each other with a hug, right? Like, oh, like here I am, let's hug. And it's like completely empty most of the time. Like, sure, a lot of the time there's love there. A lot of the time there's like a lot of intention. It's like, oh, I love you, I want to hug you, right? But like most of the time, it's like, firstly, taken all of the time, I would actually argue, it's been taken for granted. And most of the time, it's been unintentional and just like the thing you do to greet people, right? Like, oh, let me give you a hug. Like, let me just do this thing. And now it's like, oh my God, like just to sit there and hold someone's hand was like such an experience in and of itself. And I can tell you guys that on the other side of this, if ever, whenever, if ever, I don't know, that's going to be, I, for one, am going to not be taking those things for granted. And I really want to encourage you guys also not to take it for granted. Um, it's just such, human connection is so, it's meant to be cherished. It's meant to be looked at as like, this is special. This is special. And something that he and I had talked about months and months and months back, when he started to learn how to do energy work, he was like, when COVID is over, I really want to work on you. Will you allow me to do that as practice? And I was like, I don't know, like that's kind of something like I charge people for, and I do apprenticeship, and I like allow people to like practice on me and give them feedback, and so like that's something that like that's one of my services, and like I don't know how I feel about that as a friend. And so I was like sitting with it over the phone. Well, it got to a point where when we were sitting there holding hands, he said, all right, well, we weren't going to do this during COVID, but now that we are physically touching, how do you feel about me working on you? Like, would that be okay with you? And honestly, I was in this space of like needing touch and like needing energy work so badly, because I literally had zero work done. Hey, Cedar, thanks for being here. I literally had zero work done in like almost a year at this point. Like no energy work, no massage, like no nothing. And what he was doing was craniosacral, and it's a form of craniosacral that's like physically based, so it's like a lot more focus on the fascia and myofascial release and unwinding and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what, this feels great, yeah, let's do it. And so I went ahead and I got on the floor, and he started working on me. And as soon as he started working on me, like maybe a minute in, he looked at me and he said, "Could you just stop resisting me?" And I realized when he said that as he was pressing on my stomach, I was pushing my muscles back at him, and I was like doing this like resistant force. And in my mind, I was doing that because I was thinking, "Oh, I'm helping him. Like I'm coming to meet him. Like I'm like my muscles are coming to meet him so that he can help me work through this." And really, I understood that I just wasn't allowing myself to fully receive. Like I didn't have to be doing any work at all. Like he was there, he was offering to do the work, he was doing the work. And it clicked with me that I had been doing the same thing with my twin. That I had been, through all of these years, trying to make myself available to him, trying to meet him halfway, trying to like, oh, here's all of my contact information in the public eye so that you can contact me whenever you feel like you're ready to do that, if ever you feel like you're ready to do that. Oh, and you know, like here energetically, I'm here like in the astral all the time, ready to meet you. And like here I am, like, you know, looking at your Instagram page, because if I look at your Instagram page, then I'm, you know, meeting you halfway somehow. Like I'm meeting you where you're at somehow, and like I'm making this easier for you. When really I wasn't understanding that what I was doing by pushing myself forward, I was also pushing him away. And this is something big in the twin flame dynamic, is this runner chaser thing, right? I didn't look at it as though I was chasing still. I looked at it as though like I was just making myself available and like making it easier and like helping him out. And really, I was making it more comfortable for myself to feel safe, because I did not feel safe being completely open, like actually completely open and available and vulnerable and ready to receive. And so at that moment, yes, definitely a powerful understanding. Thank you for seeing me. Yes. So at that moment I was like, whoa, like just like brain exploded. Okay. And I was like, fine, like have at it. And I backed my muscles off and I just allowed him to work on me. And what was released in that session, oh my goodness, you guys. I have not had that powerful a healing session in a really long time. In a really, really long time. He helped me to release things from a decade ago, from 15 years ago, from 20 years ago. He helped me to release things from my twin from 8 years ago, from 3 years ago. I mean, it was just like beyond. It was beyond. And it got to a point where actually I began to experience a trauma response to how he was working on me. And I don't know why. I'm still sorting through that and rooting through that and working through that. But my whole body like started having this trauma response. And I asked him to stop, and I was like, this is it. Like I can't do it anymore. Like we have to stop now. Like, is that okay? Can we stop now? And he was like, absolutely. What do you need? What can I do for you? And I was like, honestly, I just need to be held. Like that's all I need right now. I just need to be held. And he was like, okay, here I am. And he came in and he gave me this huge embrace and this beautiful, beautiful hug. And we just like sat there hugging for like a good solid couple minutes. And we came out of the hug and he was like, okay, like, do you want to keep working? And I was like, no, absolutely not. I feel so good. I like, that was perfect. And he was like, okay, well, I think now is a good time since we're done with the work to talk about the other thing. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's talk about it. And he said, I don't think it's a good idea. Wow, lots of hearts on this. Thanks, guys. He said, I don't think it's a good idea for us to move past anything platonic with each other. I think it's really important for us to uphold this boundary as platonic friends. And I was so grateful that he had said that because I had been feeling the exact same thing. And I said that to him. I was like, yeah, like I worry. I worry because I see you with such unconditional love, and I feel you with such unconditional love, and I celebrate you so much, and I just know that for somebody, like he struggles a lot with self-love still, like a lot. Um and he's working on it. He's working through it. And I said, for somebody who struggles with self-love still and who is not used to experiencing love outside of a romantic context, I feel like if we become physical together, it's just going to be too confusing for you, and the fallout is not going to be great on the other end. And he was like, yeah, I could definitely see that happening. And he agreed with me. And he was like, well, at this point, it's like almost 4 o'clock in the morning. Are you sure, like, that you still want to drive? And because, like, you're more than welcome to stay here. And, like, I do have that spare room. I do have that extra room. And I said, well, I'm going to float something out for you. I'm going to float something out for you. And if it doesn't feel good to you, I completely understand. And he said, okay, what's that? What's up? And I said, would it be possible for me to stay, for us to sleep in the same bed and just like hold each other and just like be there in love and remain platonic and like just like be together for the night? Like, is that possible? And he looked at me and he said, are you sure that that's gonna happen? Like, are you sure that nothing else is gonna happen? And I said, look, I feel like we're at a point now where we both set very, very strong and specific boundaries about not becoming physically intimate with one another. And I think that we're in a place where we can respect each other and respect ourselves in our needs for that. And he was like, oh my gosh, you have changed. Like, you've really, really changed. Like, the fact that you're able to say that. And again, I like just like got teary eyed and I was like, oh my gosh, all of these reflections. Like, literally, you guys, for like 4 days at this point, I had been questioning if I had changed or not, even though I knew deeply I had. And I kept coming back around to that. Like, I knew deeply I had, but I kept craving this outside reflection. And like, that's all that was happening through this whole night, was just him reflecting back for me. You've changed. You're a different person. You're a different individual. It kept coming and coming and coming and coming. And it was so powerful and so healing. And he was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. That sounds great. And so we went up to his childhood bedroom, and he said he has a trundle bed because it's his childhood bedroom. And he said the only way that we can sleep together in the same bed is if we pull the trundle out from underneath the twin and we pull the twin mattress off the twin bed and onto the floor and push them together. And both of us stopped and just looked at each other, and we were both just in complete awe. Because we realized at that exact moment that was something that we had talked about doing when we were 15 years old. when we were 15 years old and we were dating and we were like on the phone long distance, and he would be talking to me like, when you come to visit me in Waterford, we're going to take the mattress off, we're going to push it together and we'll be able to sleep together. And I was like, dude, we manifested this. Like, it didn't come right when we wanted it to. Like, it definitely would have been a different experience when we were 15 and like getting frisky, but like here we were as like mature adults, as platonic friends who weren't going to cross that boundary, and like we manifested this, and it could not have come at a more potent and important and beautiful time. And so we helped each other. We like pulled the mattress onto the floor, we pushed the mattresses together, and we like got snuggly together, and it was so beautiful. And like the whole night I was waking up with just like full like I could feel all of my cells just like opening and rejuvenating, and like all of the energy work that he had done on me throughout that process. And like I could feel a lot of energy work happening too, just like laying there snuggling together. Like there was so much energy moving, and like so much integration and so much powerful shift happening. And like I literally was waking up throughout the night with like my cells tingling and then like going numb, like almost as though I was in the middle of like some sort of trance or something. It was really wild. And we woke up in the morning and like hugged each other goodbye, and he was gonna drive back down south, and we just looked at each other and we were like, I love you. I love you so much. I love you, and you're worthy of love, and I love you so much. And we both got in our cars and we drove away. And I'm gonna grab some water. Hold up. And later that evening, he texted me, and he said, I texted him and I said, hey, did you make it down south okay? And he said, yes, I am. But I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so please be vigilant for signs of illness. This is literally like 8 hours after we saw each other, you guys. And I was like, okay. In my mind, I'm like, I'm fine. Right? Like, I just had major energy upgrade. I just had major energy integration. Like, I am A-okay. There's just like no reason for me not to be okay. A. And B, like, if we're being honest, he's a pretty dramatic person. And so I was like, okay, I mean, like, even listen to this text, like, please be vigilant for signs of illness. So I honestly wrote it off, and I was like, okay, like, all right, like, whatever, friend. I think you're probably just tired from the drive, and like, it's no big deal, and whatever. What transpired over the next several days was very interesting. Oh gosh, so vulnerable. So vulnerable. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me through all of this. I know this is a lot. This is a lot, and it's long. I'm actually surprised I have the energy to get through this right now, honestly. Obviously, it just needs to happen. It needs to come through. It needs to come out. Okay. So what transpired over the next couple days was really, really an interesting turn of events. I actually began to take on some of his energy. This is really vulnerable for me to admit, because I am always telling you guys, hey Shannon, thanks for being here. I am always telling you guys that you need to be in your own energy, that's where you're most powerful, that is, you know, your strongest point, that's where other energies can't come in, blah 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 blah. But the problem is that, you know, like, that's of course the ideal. That's the ideal. This is where we quote should be. This is where we quote want to be, is like in our full power, in our full essence, in our full energy, in our full selves. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we all have shadows, and we have shadows to look at. And a lot of the time, those shadows can get in the way of us embodying ourselves fully. And clearly, I had shadows to work through about receiving and about scarcity in receiving. And I was having a lot of scarcity about not being able to receive human contact again. I was having a lot of scarcity around not being held in unconditional love by somebody who viewed me as attractive in many ways. I was having a lot of scarcity around that not happening again. And because of that, um, basically the perfect recipe happened because I was having scarcity with that, and on the other end of things, he was also feeling very inadequate, and he was also feeling really seen by me for like more so than he's used to being seen by people. And so he was craving my energy and I was craving his energy, and so what did we do? We flip-flopped. We swapped. I took his energy on, he took my energy on. Well, his energy is filled with a lot of depression. And as I've talked about the energy of depression as well, a lot of depression comes from being void of the self. So I was experiencing his depression. I was also experiencing my own depression for allowing myself to self abandon at that point. And I fell deep. I fell into a depression, you guys. And on top of that, I was experiencing still all of the all of the anger and sadness and fear of everybody from my past still thinking I hadn't changed. And that snowballed because then I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm taking on somebody else's energy. I'm self abandoning. Like this is my old self. This is my old pattern. I haven't changed, blah, blah, blah. And you know, there the gears were turning. Oh, you haven't changed. You haven't changed. You haven't changed. Here's the evidence. Here's all of the evidence to show you how you haven't changed. And because I got to this very low vibration of being in this place of depression, of being void of myself, I had huge energy gaps. My frequency was low enough to be able to contract the COVID. And also, I was void of my own energy, which was the only thing that was protecting me from being able to stay healthy. And I still, to this day, it's been 3 weeks now, I still believe wholeheartedly believe that if I had stayed completely full of my own energy, I never would have gotten COVID. It never would have happened. I 150% believe that. But it was literally the perfect recipe, the perfect recipe, the perfect shadows triggered, the perfect, like everything, the perfect recipe for me to get COVID. So I began experiencing symptoms, funnily enough, on Friday the 13th. I know, hilarious. I did a whole post about how Friday the 13th is actually a really magical day and it's not unlucky at all, and yet here I am with like fever and shit. Um so that's how that worked out. And I was pretty down and out. I was pretty down and out for about 2 weeks. I started really feeling good again. Probably like maybe 4 days ago or so. Um, or at least capable. I still get tired a lot. I still have breathing things going on. And I still have a cough. But other than those things, I'm as you can see, healthy and doing pretty well. Um, I was so when I came down with the symptoms and I was laying in bed with fever, I also became pretty delirious. And this theme of the time space continuum and time not existing continues to be so pervasive through the entire COVID experience. And when I say that, I'm talking about the last 9 months. Time does not exist. And I literally felt myself in bed with fever from 8 years ago. Because what happened was when my twin and I went into separation the first time, I actually came down with mono. And so 8 years ago, I was literally laying on the same damn mattress that I'm laying on right now with mono, with fever, with like complete and extreme fatigue, and sitting in depression and feeling scarcity because my twin had left me and feeling vulnerable and feeling um completely let down by myself and feeling like other people were talking about me behind my back and feeling like everybody hates me and like all of this other stuff. And it literally was like copy paste palindrome effect. Like, here I was 8 years later, laying in bed with COVID, with a fever, with deliriousness. My twin had just separated from me again in the physical for the third time, even if like in a really small amount, seemingly just by blocking me on Instagram. I mean, that's the most physical connection that I have had with him in 4 years. So like it felt really big, it felt like a big separation. Um like and like he and his friends are talking about me behind my back, and like I have a lot of confirmation about that. And hey Amber, thanks for being here. And so it was literally copy paste. Like it was really bizarre. And at first I was really angry about it. At first it was like, why is this happening to me, right? Listen to that language. Why is this happening to me again? Why am I here again? Why am I in the same place again? And then I realized that it was literally a culmination of everything. It was literally like this had to happen. The COVID had to happen. Everything needed to happen in exactly this alignment, in exactly this pattern of events so that I could release the past fully. I needed to relive the past in almost complete detail so that I could bring it up out of me. Every last cell, every last fiber of those memories, of those energies, of those really toxic, grotesque energies needed to come out and sweat themselves out and cough themselves out and fever themselves out and be out of my body. It needed to release, and that was the only way it could release. It was the only way it could fully release, you guys, was for everything to be triggered in the exact same scenario that it was before. And then I started really sitting with it. And I was like, so I'm going to speak an opinion that's going to probably be fairly unpopular. And it's something that, ironically enough, I said to my mentor during our session on 11/11. So this is 2 days. Hey, Freedom Facilitator, thanks for being here. This is literally 2 days before I started experiencing symptoms. I had my session with my mentor, and I was on the phone with her, and I was saying to her, I believe that COVID exists in two ways. One, it exists as the thing that society has made it out to be. This thing that is scary, that we're supposed to be fearful of. This thing that is low vibration. And I also believe it exists in a healing capacity. Literally, I said this to my mentor 2 days before I started experiencing symptoms, you guys. There are two ways that we can take COVID. We can experience COVID in a way that completely destroys us. We can give into the fear of it. We can give into the symptoms of it. We can try and fight the symptoms of it. Or we can look at it from the capacity of it actually being something that can heal us. And I know that that sounds really counterindicative, and I'm not, I want to be really clear here. I'm not saying go out and contract COVID. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying like go out and specifically like expose yourself to COVID. What I am saying is that if you do get exposed, it's because it's here to help you, or it can be. You have the choice. You have the decision to make as to whether this is something you're going to experience that's going to completely wreck your body, or if you're going to look at it as a physical ascension system. I know I probably sound really wiggy and wacky to a lot of you right now. So I'm giving space for you guys to integrate this information. And part of what allowed me to come to this understanding is, as I said, my friend worked on me hardcore when I went to see him. He worked on me hardcore. He opened up, here's the irony of all of this. He opened up my diaphragm and my lungs during our work, and I was able to breathe in ways I haven't been able to breathe in years. And then I got COVID. And if it weren't for that work, I don't think I would be here now speaking to you. I've been singing through this whole experience. I've been singing while I've had COVID, you guys. After he worked on me, I experienced a major healing crisis. Major healing crisis. For those of you who don't know what a healing crisis is, it's really important for you to know. This is important stuff. Basically, a healing crisis is what happens when we experience huge amounts of healing and then our bodies begin to respond physically in ways that are basically getting rid of old energy. Okay? So we experience symptoms of illness because what the body is doing is purging old energy. So I came to this understanding as I was in bed, as I was struggling with COVID. I was like, what if literally every time we're getting sick, it's because we have the option to look at it as a healing crisis? Like, what if there are two avenues to go with it? Like, what if one avenue is actual sickness and is actual, like, okay, I'm going to give into this, I'm sick, I'm going to give into the fear. Like, how many of you have experienced it where, like, you start to feel a little bit of a cold start to onset or whatever, and like, you continue to fear it, right? You continue to fear, like, oh, I'm getting a stuffy nose, oh, I'm getting a sore throat, and you're like fearing it, and through that fear the symptoms continue to onset until, like, you've made yourself sick. Like, the human brain and the human body are so extraordinary. They're so extraordinary. And so literally what I did through this COVID experience was I sat with the symptoms. I allowed myself to experience them. I didn't try to fight them. I didn't try to get rid of them. I didn't try to, like, heal up right away. No, I literally experienced the symptoms. And I was like, okay, this cough is here. Great. I'm going to cough this out. Something needs to leave my body. I'm going to cough this out. I'm going to sit into this. I'm going to sink into this. Okay, this fever is here. Great. I'm going to sweat. You know, I only had 2 nights of fever. That's it. 2 nights of fever. That's it. I sweated everything out and then I was done. Because I allowed myself to. Because I said, okay, your body needs this. Your body needs to feel this fever. Your body needs to sweat this out. This is what you need right now. This is what you need. And as uncomfortable as it was to be in my body over the, week that I experienced really, really bad symptoms, as uncomfortable, and which by the way included a full body rash where I broke out in hives two or three nights. That was real epic. Um in a lot, like, I over the week that I was experiencing these really, um I would call them moderate symptoms, I was actually enjoying it, which sounds weird. I wasn't enjoying it in a masochistic way. I wasn't like, oh, I deserve this pain, man. Like, no, it was legit. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, my body's working right now. I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful that my body is working to get rid of the past. I'm so grateful that my body is working to, like, help physically ascend my cells. And part of also what I was thinking too was like, when my friend and I were like in the bed, like snuggling together, like breathing the same air, being in the same space, like literally I was breathing in COVID at that point. I was breathing in COVID. And I was, as I said, waking up throughout the night with like my cells tingling and like everything ascending and like all this other stuff. And there was a point that night when I remembered thinking like, we're breathing the same air, like this, like there's something in this, like there's sickness in this. Like I remember having that exact thought, there's sickness in this. And then I was like that was the moment where a lot of things started to like turn over and transform for me, because I think at that exact moment I knew I had it. Like at that exact moment in the middle of the night I knew I had it. And I was like, but there's something in this that's healing. Like there's something in this, like there's some sort of choice that we have here. There's some sort of choice. And I think as a collective, and this is something I've said before, as a collective we are experiencing a pandemic because we are all helping to clear the collective through this too. Like every single one of us who is getting COVID is also helping to clear the crap from humanity and from the collective. It's all a choice, you guys. It's all a choice. We can choose to view COVID in fear. We can choose, and like this doesn't negate the fact that people are dying, and this doesn't negate the fact that there are people who are ending up cripplingly ill. And like I know I got really lucky. And there are ways to make this lucky for you too. Um and I really feel it's important to share this. I started really taking care of my body in the spring. Like something happened when quarantine hit, and I got this big download of like, it's time. It is time to really pay attention to your physical body. I started working out, um like every day I was going for walks. And when I say walks, I mean I was going for like 1, 2, 3 hour walks. Now I know a lot of you don't have the capacity to do that because of a work schedule or whatever, and of course the weather's starting to turn now, which honestly shouldn't be affecting your walk, but you know, it is what it is. I was going for walks every day, and I started doing something I've never done willingly in my life, and I started actually legitimately exercising 3 days a week, lifting weights, doing push-ups, doing sit-ups, doing body resistance stuff, like legit working out. If it weren't for that, I don't think my body would have been strong enough to get through this. So I want to make sure that the message is delivered here, that this isn't just about energetic strength and like coming out in this place of like, oh, I accept the symptoms, and like this is an energy upgrade even if it feels like shit, and like all of this other stuff. Like yes, those things are absolutely important and key to this, but also make sure you're taking care of your body, because the physical body is also energy, you guys. This is the vehicle by which you are getting through this. Go take care of your body. Eat right. Drink a ton of water. Do breath work. Do a ton of singing. Do some movement work. Like exercise, lift some weights, get strong. Like this is the key. Hey Sarah, thanks for being here. This is the key. Or I should say, these are the keys. Get into your physical body and take care of it. And it's here to take care of you. Take care of it. I cannot tell you how many times through this whole experience I have had so many huge bouts of gratitude for this thing. And I've been like, oh my goodness, thank goodness I've been working out. Thank goodness I've been doing breath work. Thank goodness I've been singing. Thank goodness I've been doing my movement work. Thank goodness. I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful I put the time in for that because it's coming back to me now. It's coming back to me now. And I can say, holy crap, I'm strong. I'm strong. I got through this. I'm getting through this. And not only am I getting through this, I feel like I hate this phrase, but I am leveling up on so many different planes at this point. I deeply feel like there are legitimate healing and up leveling of frequency codes in COVID. It's just about unlocking them. Yeah, I did just say that. There can be healing in COVID. It's just about unlocking the frequency of it. It's about making that choice, about making that decision. Yeah. Yep. And if you're supposed to get it, you're supposed to get it. Like I said, I literally was with no one but my family for 9 months. This was literally the first legitimate human interaction with somebody who is not related to me that I had had in 9 months, and that's how I got it. I got it because I was supposed to get it. I got it because I was supposed to give you guys this message. I got it because I was supposed to clear all that needed to be cleared with it. And here's the wild part, you guys. If you're not supposed to get it, you're also not going to get it. My roommate is fine. Thankfully. I'm so grateful she's okay. But literally, we were sitting in the living room breathing the same air, watching the same TV for like days after I saw my friend. And she is fine. She's tested negative like 4 times at this point. She is A-okay. She wasn't supposed to get it. There are people every day walking around who are testing positive and aren't experiencing any symptoms. I don't know if that's because they're just automatically getting those upgrade codes that are coming in through COVID, and it's like, oh, you don't need to experience the purging and the physical ascension symptoms at all. Like, you can just have these. Or if it's like, they're just, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's probably that. Yeah, Dana, you agree with me. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know that. And yeah, Tasha says, yes, this is what I've been saying for years. I love this, Rachel. Yeah, absolutely. We have the choice. We have the choice whether to make it sickness or healing. We have the choice. And that's not to say that you're not, like, it's not going to suck. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. The symptoms sucked. like it was not comfortable for me to be itchy all over for 2 days. It was not comfortable for me to lose taste and smell for 24 hours. It was not comfortable for that to then only turn into the taste of chicken. I'm not even kidding you guys. This is how this happened. I could only taste chicken for like 24 hours straight after I regained my taste. Like, my water tasted like chicken, my saliva tasted like chicken. It was really not comfortable, and I started gagging on the taste of chicken. This was not a comfortable experience, but but it was incredibly healing. Incredibly healing. So, thank you to those of you who have stuck through all 2 hours of this story. Or just 5 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever, like however long you've been around. I'm gonna laugh my butt off if I end this video and lose it. That's just gonna be the funniest thing in the world. But I mean, whomever needed to hear the message is here. The message has been shared. The message is here. So anyways, I think I saw somebody post a question way back when, so I'm gonna go ahead and tap into these comments here for a while, for a moment. Yeah, Belle says full circle, not attached to outcome. Absolutely, sending you light. Thank you so much. I'm covered in goosebumps. Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, I think I missed the question maybe. For some reason Instagram doesn't love to like save people's comments. So I feel badly that I missed that question, but I guess I just wasn't supposed to answer it. So, anyways, well, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you so much for allowing me to be the vessel to deliver this information to you. I hope that it has hit home in more ways than one. Oh, I did. Thank you. Oh, you're so welcome, Shannon. I'm so glad. So glad. Um, and yeah, here we are. Here we grow. I love you guys. I'm not sure when I'm gonna come on live yet. Or next. I thank you so much for understanding when I canceled the sound healing and the Q&A. I just really appreciate that. Appreciate your grace as I was continuing to recover and still am continuing to recover. And like I said, I have no idea how I made it 2 hours on this thing without like needing to crawl in bed again, but somehow I did. The message just needed to come through. The story needed to be shared. Blessings to you too, Shannon. Thank you. All right. Yeah. So I will schedule I'll schedule the next Q&A out hopefully sooner rather than later before all of the holiday fritz begins. And I don't know how my voice is going to repair or do, or my breath or anything like that, but I'm hoping to be able to do another sound healing soon as well. So hopefully with these integrations, these codes. So which by the way did come through in the 1111 sound healing as well. So if you want to go back and take a look at that, it is up on Instagram and Facebook, and I just haven't had the wherewithal to put it on YouTube yet. So but it'll be up there soon. So anyways, I love you guys so, so, so freaking much. You have no idea how much I love you. How freaking appreciative I am to you. How grateful I am for you. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna close out. Take care. Take care of yourselves. Know that you're loved. Know that you're appreciated. And know that you have a choice in this. You have a choice. Are you gonna come at this from healing and from love, or are you going to come at this from fear? Yeah. All right. Take care, you guys.